Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm Josh Guesman along with Wendy Thomas, and on today's show we're going to walk you back through the LA Galaxy's 1-1 draw with San Jose. Was it a good result, or do you feel like you got punched in the gut? Damn you, Chad Barrett. Then it's off to LA Galaxy News, where we're getting into the LA Galaxy's listed All-Stars, but before we get into that, we'll be joined by Giovanni Sardo, host of the Black and Blue podcast, to talk about the Montreal Impact as we get you ready for this weekend's shorthanded game. It's just another day right here in Corner of the Galaxy, so what are you waiting for? Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com starts right now. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Now here are your hosts, Josh Guesman and Wendy Thomas. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I am Josh Guesman. She is Wendy Thomas. Welcome back to another fun show we have planned for you today. Lots of fun talk. Definitely going to talk about the LA Galaxy's 1-1 draw with the San Jose Earthquakes. Maybe you guys are upset about that. Maybe you want to talk about it. That's fine. We can do that here. This is what this show is all about. We're also going to get into the LA Galaxy versus Montreal game coming up the weekend in Montreal. LA Galaxy already traveled up to Montreal on Thursday, so they're already there getting ready to train. But Wendy, we start at the very beginning as we always do with me saying hello. How's it going?
Good. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing excellent, thank you. I really appreciate that. So I haven't talked to you since the LA Galaxy did draw versus San Jose. How do you feel about it?
A little bit of a bitter pill, I have to say. This was the first game of the season that I have not been able to attend in person because I had work obligations, but I did follow the game from the comfort of my office, and it's a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow. Not because, I expect the Galaxy to win every game. That's obviously a hope, and in MLS, where parity is a goal, and it's always hard to get, result after result after result the way some teams can in other leagues. However, that being said, San Jose is an eminently beatable team. So there's no reason for us to do anything other than win when we're playing San Jose at home. I mean, it's a Cali Classico. There's no reason for us not to win. And in this case, the reason I think we didn't win was because of the players who were placed in the field.
Well, I mean, there certainly is something that I think we can get into it. I think the substitutes and the starters are questions here, and it's the good stuff. I'm glad that there's some controversy that we actually get to talk about. Before it's like, oh, who's healthy? Throw them out on the field. I think, Wendy, it was you who said the LA Galaxy were better when they were not healthy.
Well, yeah, I said after the game, I thought we were playing better when we were injured, because obviously there's this overlap with respect to Robbie Keane and Giovanni Dos Santos having remarkably similar skill sets and wanting to occupy the same space on the field. But,
right.
I mean, you could play Giovanni in a different position. He's perfectly capable of it. The problem that I have, there is that issue, but there's also the issue of, Mike Magee as a starter. I thought that was a little surprising. I thought playing with a three-man midfield was a little surprising. Putting Giovanni Dos Santos and Robbie Keane both on the field, knowing that neither of them defend, that's the problem. I mean, there's a number of problems. Yeah. What about you, Josh? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I saw it as a 4-3-3. I think the only change I could have possibly made was put in Sebastian Lletget for Mike Magee. If you're going to play in that 4-3-3 that I saw it. Now, granted, some people said they saw, a 4-4-2 diamond. I mean, listen,
It was a lot of different things, and it was a lot of different things all over the place. Those front three get to do basically whatever they want. So Giovanni Dos Santos, Giassi Zardes, and Robbie Keane really can float and do everything. The problem is, like you said, is defensively, who's going to get back and work? One or two of those guys has to come back and put in some work. Giassi Zardes did that on occasion. I don't think that you're ever going to see Giovanni Dos Santos or Robbie Keane, although Robbie Keane will streak back on occasion whenever he thinks he needs to as well to get back on defense. But, I think that left the midfield a little bit open. I think without speed in that midfield, without somebody with some creativity, outside of maybe Gerrard and Magee's creativity, which I don't think is particularly high, I thought the attack stagnated there, and the LA Galaxy even talked about how they felt that they came out, flat in the first half. And if you're looking at this game in sort of the macro view, it was San Jose played really well in the first half, and the LA Galaxy played really well in the second half. And if that's going to be the case, then you would have expected San Jose to score in the first half and the LA Galaxy to score in the second half, and it would have been 1-1 draw. It just ended up not really turning out that way, and I think that's probably why most people feel that this is more of a loss and a little punch in the gut than anything else. And when the LA Galaxy are at home, Wendy, you expect them to get 3 points.
You always expect them to get 3 points at home. And I was a little bit perplexed. I mean, I love Mike Magee. But I expected to see Sebastian Lletget start. And when he came in as a sub in the second half, I thought there was a marked improvement.
Absolutely.
I thought that, he is creative. I mean, he brought a lot. I thought he really lit a spark in terms of creating, being influential on the field. And I mean, I do love Mike Magee, but it was a little surprising.
It's not surprising in terms of Bruce Arena, though. You agree that? I mean, Bruce.
Oh no, it's a completely Bruce Arena thing to do.
Okay, so I mean, it's not like perplexing. It's like, how did Bruce Arena make that decision? No, we all know.
No. Whenever Bruce does these things, whenever he, pays Dan Kennedy twice as much as Brian Rowe, or he, brings in Jeff Larenkowitz and Mike Magee, who are earning more money than Sebastian Lletget. That's, this is Bruce to a T.
Well, wait a minute. First of all, Bruce is a genius for doing all that stuff because he's getting some really good players for no money. He's also overpaying players who aren't worth the money that they're getting. He got a pretty good bench player in Jeff Larenkowitz for what he's paying, and Jeff Larenkowitz took like a $75,000 pay cut in order to come to the LA Galaxy. You're getting a motivated guy who took a pay cut, who wants to play for the LA, and he knows he's going to come off the bench. I think that's a win, even if you are slightly overpaying for him. I think that's a win. But the bottom line is you're getting value on Sebastian Lletget. You're getting huge value on Brian Rowe. I mean, Bruce Arena should be crowned a king. You're getting value for Ashley Cole even at $300,000. You're getting value. That's value. You are getting pretty good value. I think that paying Dan Kennedy $250 is overpaying for a goalkeeper, especially since Bruce was a goalkeeper and he's notoriously stingy with goalkeepers. I mean, I seem to recall, correct me if I'm wrong, I seem to recall less than 2 years ago, a man named Jaime Pinedo leaving the LA Galaxy because of a salary dispute issue with Bruce Arena because he wasn't getting the money that he asked for, and he was earning less money than Dan Kennedy is now. Dan Kennedy $180 in 2016. $180 in 2016.
No, he's earning $250.
No, $180. Base salary, 2016. I'm looking at it. It's at the bottom of the show notes. $180. So he was making $233 in Dallas last year, and so his guaranteed comp is $195. So $180,000, $195,000. Again, for what you should be getting from Dan Kennedy, a little high. Certainly, he's not making as much as Donovan Ricketts.
$233. Okay.
That was in 2015. In 2016, he's making $180.
Guaranteed compensation.
$195.
Okay. But still,
yeah.
I mean, Jaime Pinedo was a really good goalkeeper.
Jaime Pinedo walked himself off this team. It wasn't a fact that that Bruce wouldn't pay him the money. I guarantee that if he just signed a contract, if Bruce would have paid him at the end of the year, if he would have kept stuff up, but the bottom line is he decided that he wanted to leave. I've always said that. Bruce will negotiate with guys. He'll play the game, but whenever you just negotiate and then in the middle of the season you want to renegotiate again, or right before the season starts you want to renegotiate again, that doesn't work. And everything I've heard said that Jaime Pinedo got horrible advice from his agent. All right?
I heard he got bad advice from his agent.
That's what everybody says here. I don't blame Bruce Arena for not paying Jaime Pinedo, quite honestly. If the guy wanted to walk because he thought he wasn't making enough money, which, again, if he makes it to the end of the year, I'm guessing Bruce pays him. I'm guessing Bruce has to pay him, quite honestly. So all that stuff saying, I don't think Dan Kennedy is that overpaid. I think he will be overpaid when you realize that he's going to be the number 2. Yeah, that he's the number 2 guy.
He's a backup goalkeeper.
But he wasn't bought to be the number 2 guy. He was bought to be the number 1 guy. And a number 1 guy at 180 probably makes sense. Maybe a little overpaid because of his age, but nonetheless. So I'm okay with that.
No. And ultimately, you know what? I actually don't even have a problem. There are a lot of commentators who have a problem with the way the Galaxy spend money. I really don't. I think that Bruce is a genius with the salary cap, and he pays a lot of money for a lot of players. But you're like you said, he actually gets players who are worth way more. I mean, Nigel de Jong is worth way more than what we're paying him.
Exactly.
Gel Van Dam is worth more than we're paying him. And, we managed to sort of suck them in with like the LA lifestyle and stuff like that. And, because Bruce just works the cap and has homegrowns that he can offset expenses with. But I do give the Galaxy credit for getting value out of players who are really, really talented.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that ends up at the end of the year, if we still think that some of these players are values or if they're still getting overpaid or all those different things. Bottom line, I guess, is if you win an MLS Cup, everybody got paid the exact right amount. So I think that's how it works. There's a narrative here that I want to bring up, though. Obviously, this game was knotted at zeros until the 83rd minute. Robbie Keane should have scored in the 10th minute. If you remember, that's the cross from Gerrard that Keane headed down and it bounced down and then over the bar and he was wide open. I don't know how Robbie Keane gets that wide open, and I don't know how Robbie Keane misses that because it was perfect in every way from Gerrard and it should have been put in the back of the net. So 10th minute, Wondolowski missed 2 or 3 just such easy goals, and it plays into the fact, it's that whole, I don't like to say it that much, but somebody said, I really want to see Chris Wondolowski do good in this game. All right, this wasn't a fan, this was a report. I really want to see Chris Wondolowski do good in this game. I go, that's great, except that every time I watch Chris Wondolowski, he misses goals he should make, and he makes goals he probably shouldn't sometimes, right? And so that's my problem with him, is that he doesn't do that. He probably should have had 3 goals in this game in the first half. And for me, if you're San Jose, you have to be kicking yourself that you didn't win this game, because in the first half you had 3 or 4 golden opportunities to do that. And for the LA Galaxy, you really have to question what the heck was going on in the first half, because San Jose really was dominant in that, and they should have gone in with the lead. So that's sort of my view on the first half. Second half, nothing really happens until after Sebastian Lletget comes in for Mike Magee. You get into the 72nd minute where Jelle Van Dam gets the ball to, or sends the ball to Giovanni Sardo, who heads the ball perfectly into the path of Giovanni Dos Santos, who hits a half volley that should have gone in. It was just would have been the most perfect Gio goal, and it clanks off the crossbar. All right, the same crossbar that Chris Wondolowski hit in the first half and should have scored a goal on. So you get all these things that ratchet up. Robbie Keane should have scored another time in the second half. Giovanni Dos Santos should have scored in the second half, and those two chances were separated by like a minute in the 78th minute, 79th minute of the game. So both of those things start to happen, and then nothing happens until Sebastian Lletget comes in and puts in the cross in the 83rd minute to see Marvell Wynn put the ball into the back of his own net. Now, it's the second time, Wendy, I know you know this, that's the second time Sebastian Lletget has put a ball in from almost the exact same spot and gotten the same result. Nat Borchers in the Portland game, whenever the LA Galaxy tied Portland 1-1. It's just, this was a weird game. Can we not say this was a weird game?
What I hear you saying, Josh, is that you think the soccer gods were not with the players on Sunday, and I think you're right. I think they were probably with the New York Red Bulls this weekend.
That's where all of them went. They were busy. I got it.
It was missed opportunities. Players failed to exploit easy open chances, and that's always frustrating, especially when you have Robbie Keane, DP, missing a sitter, Wondolowski, ostensibly a brilliant poacher in MLS, who misses chance after chance. And yeah, I'm sure this is actually, of all the games this year, I'm thinking this was the one to miss, because it was, from everyone that I was tweeting with online, apparently extremely frustrating to sit and watch in person. So if maybe the soccer gods were with me, maybe they just didn't want an exciting game to happen while I wasn't at the stadium.
I already blame you for the fact that the Galaxy didn't win the game. So that's easy. Listen, there is a narrative here that the LA Galaxy lost this game, and I can see that. I mean, you look at it, it feels like a loss. The Galaxy were winning with 7 minutes left in the game. They concede a goal from Chad Barrett. How does Chad Barrett always figures a way to screw the Galaxy? Every
Shake
single
your
time.
fist.
He is the
Just
I am.
shake
I'm
your
shaking. I'm
fist.
shaking
Yeah,
my
shake
fist
your
right now.
fist.
If you're watching the live show, you can actually see that. Chad Barrett is one of those players that was not that great for the Galaxy when he was on the Galaxy, but as soon as he left, he decided that every time he played the Galaxy, he would figure in a goal somehow. Either he scores it or, he has some hand in it. He even goes so far as to score a goal and then get injured immediately at the beginning of the game and then, get taken out. I mean, Chad Barrett knows how to score against the LA Galaxy. I tip my hat to him as I shake my angry fist at him as well. But there's a narrative.
I love that Sounders game. That was one of the most delightful things I've ever seen in my whole life, is watching Chad Barrett score a goal for the Sounders and then immediately pull a hamstring.
Yeah, celebrating. Yes, I can understand that. There's definitely some sentiment there. But the thing I want to get at is that the LA Galaxy now have this history, and I heard it from people on Twitter, and I heard it from people in the stadium, that they give up late goals. And I don't think Bruce Arena wants to talk about giving up late goals, but the LA Galaxy have given up a total of 13 goals so far this year, Wendy. 13. All right? And in those 13 goals, 7 of those have come in the last 30 minutes. So from the 60th minute on, 7 of those goals have come in the last 30 minutes. All right? And that means that they have given up 54% of their goals in 30% of the time, basically. 33% of the time in a third.
Okay. I mean, I think that you're drawing conclusions from a pretty small statistical sample, 7 of 13. But I also would say, if there is any meaning to that statistic, then maybe what you could attribute it to is that fatigue in our players is a problem, since they're on average older than most MLS teams.
Let's talk about the Fatai Alashe goal, because quite honestly, it's defending at its absolute worst. And I went back and I looked at the play, and I wanted to call out Steven Gerrard because I thought that he let Alashe slip away, but that wasn't the case, and so I had to back off a little bit. Although it is Giovanni Sardo, Steven Gerrard, Nigel de Jong, and Jelle Van Dam, there are 4 players who let Alashe slip in between him. 4 players, and he's all alone to score the header in that. It's Zardes who lets his man slip. It's de Jong who lets the ball go over his head. It's Van Dam who doesn't find the guy who's in front of him. And it's Gerrard who could see the whole play in front of him. So between those 4 players, somebody probably should have gotten in front of that ball, near that ball, done something to Alashe to stop that. And that's the problem. It seems that they're not so much even physical. Maybe it is physical, because physical sometimes manifests itself in mental lapses, right? If you're tired,
yeah, absolutely.
If you're tired, you're not thinking right sometimes, and you don't want to put in the effort, or you don't anticipate the way you're supposed to. But this is such a mental error, and it comes at such an important time in the match. The LA Galaxy could have gotten a 1-0 win, could have got their second shutout of the year, because, Wendy, they've only had 1 shutout. It is something to talk about. This is 11 games into this season. The LA Galaxy have only had 1 shutout, and for as good as this defense was at the beginning of the year, I would have expected it to have found some balance and some understanding.
You know how in boxing there's a saying that the time that it's most likely to have a knockout is right when a player has taken a hit. So a player's taken a hit, the best time for him to try and get a knockout against the other boxer is right after that guy has hit him, because the guy, whoever he's fighting, is going to feel a release of tension from having laid into him. And I think that there's something to that in the world of soccer, where right after you score, it's almost like there's a heightened sense of danger, because when you score, it's almost like your mental focus drops. You become, really excited and exuberant. Mm-hmm. And everyone is just sort of loses their mind for a second. And I think that is a very dangerous point in the game, to lose your concentration, is right after you score. I think that everyone's concentration drops right in those minutes. And that's really, I feel like San Jose kind of like exploited a drop in concentration. And whether that's, was caused by fatigue, it was a hot day, there's a lot of reasons that it could be. But I think that maybe the timing of it has something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think there's same in soccer, is after you get, as soon as you score, the best time to get scored upon is right afterwards, because again, it's that relaxation. You're now thinking, all right, we're changing. We're not going to attack mode anymore. Now we're going to have to defend. We have to think about that. We have to change the way that we do it. And I think that's the one thing I have a criticism of the LA Galaxy so far this season, is that they don't step on the throats of opponents more often than not. And I think that hurts them, because this team is better going forward than they are in defense. So I don't want to see the LA Galaxy park the bus right now. I want to see them go full throttle and bury people, and I think that's the best way to do it. Is to outscore them and outscore them 4-1. I don't care. You can let one goal in if you're going to win 4-1. But Bruce Arena is defensively minded in the sense that he likes his teams to be able to win 1-0 games, and I don't see this team being able to win 1-0 games right now. So if the Galaxy are down in the late stages against Montreal and it's 1-0 and they're up and they're on the road, I mean, you're going to have to expect something that's going to happen. You're going to have to expect Montreal to get some really good chances on goal because that seems to be the pattern so far in 2016. So a little stuff. Just a quick pre-game or post-game stuff from Steven Gerrard. He said, and I quote, he goes, "I think we were 4 minutes away from what we wanted, which was 3 points and that clean sheet we spoke about during the week. But by no means did we play to our standards. I thought we were average early and lacked a bit of energy and a bit of creativity in the final third. But I thought it was a fair result. They had a couple of chances. We had a couple of chances. No complaint with the result, really." All right. So, I don't know. This is interesting.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty accurate assessment of the game from Steven Gerrard. I mean, it's too bad that as a participant, he didn't feel the sense of urgency to change the outcome. But, he pretty accurately caps that off for us.
This is the other interesting Steven Gerrard quote that I heard of. He asked whether or not, they're going to have to pick it up with Robbie Keane and Giovanni Sardo, Sebastian Lletget gone from next. He said, "We've got no choice. We have to be prepared, and we have to share the responsibility around the squad. Of course, the likes of Giassi and Robbie are going to be big misses for the squad because they contribute so much to the team, but other people have got to stand up and play. Players complain and moan when they're not in the 11 and when they're not in the squad, so let's see what they can do." Steven Gerrard.
Ooh, he's throwing a little shade, Steven Gerrard.
Complaining and moaning.
I think that this is actually good news.
Right?
So, right. I mean, I'm actually, as I said after the San Jose game, maybe we play better with some injuries. And, if Robbie Keane is off, helping the Republic of Ireland get knocked out in the first round of Euro, then, Giovanni Dos Santos can be slid right into that position where he's done so well. And he's been pretty productive when he's been there for us this season.
Well, the LA Galaxy draw 1-1 with San Jose on a Sunday afternoon. Next game at home will be a Thursday game, so be prepared for that commute, boys and girls. That should be fun.
Oh, my God.
I know.
The Thursday midweek game.
I know. It's always fun. Thursday, only the worst day for driving in Los Angeles. So enjoy that one for Thursday. Of course, the Saturday game coming up with Montreal. In order to preview that game, coming up right here at the break, we're going to be joined by Giovanni Sardo. Giovanni Sardo, he is the host of the Black and Blue podcast covering the Montreal Impact. So a lot still to come up. Make sure you hang in there for this interview. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com.
All this was a warning sign, a warning sign. But I understood my wrong from right. Now is it I toss and turn all through the night. I don't need a friend to tell me why. This was a mistake. Yeah, this was my mistake.
Recording from CoG Studios and not their mom's basement, it's Corner of the Galaxy.
Welcome back to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. A lot of things still ahead, but I wanted to look briefly in the direction of the game coming up this weekend, the Montreal Impact. And to do that in the very best way possible, we'll welcome the host of the Black and Blue podcast, which focuses on the Impact. Say hello to Giovanni Sardo. Giovanni, welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I am doing excellent. I was just on your podcast, so now you are on my podcast. A little exchange of information, and I was happy to do it. Got a lot of really great questions, by the way. So if you get a chance, you definitely want to look up the Black and Blue podcast and listen to my half of that on Giovanni's show here. But I wanted to talk about the Montreal Impact. Obviously, being in the Western Conference, we are not as used to watching the games in Montreal, except for me because I watch everything. But the Montreal are on a 6-game winless streak, Giovanni. They're 0-2-4 in their last 6 games. What sort of has been the biggest issue for the team during that streak?
Inconsistency and injuries. You know, we're missing a lot of players. We've had our left back, Donny Toya, who's been an absolute warrior for us defensively. He's been out. Now we have Laurent Simon, who's taken off to play for Belgium in the Euros. Mm-hmm. You have Oyongo, who's been, our other fullback, who's come back from injury, and now he's gone off on international duty. On top of, just defensive issues, Harry Ship that's not panning out the way we wanted to. So there's a lot of work for us to do here in Montreal.
Yeah, you talked about it, and when I was on your show, you were talking about basically you're expecting to miss basically 5 starters for this game, and that's a lot different than what the LA Galaxy are sort of facing. With the Galaxy probably missing 2 starters, possibly 3 if you want to count Balgio Husidic and an occasional starter in there as well. How much do you really expect that to affect this game? Do you have capable backups in there, or is this going to be an uphill battle for Montreal?
It's definitely going to be an uphill battle because if you take a look, again, defensively, you don't have Sima, so usually you would expect Wandrel Lataïv to partner up with Victor Cabrera in central defense. The problem with that is Victor Cabrera is hurt. So now, against the juggernaut that we consider the LA Galaxy to be, you guys are going to see Kyle Fisher on the team. No, you've never heard of him. And it's only normal. The kid's a rookie. He's probably going to play his first ever MLS minutes. So, as much as we hope that he has a fantastic first game, I'm kind of excited one second and I'm petrified the next.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure. Talk a little bit about Laurent Simon and what he's meant to this team so far. Obviously getting a call up to the Belgian national team. He is a former MLS Defender of the Year. It's probably a pretty big piece missing, I imagine.
Absolutely. Well, you're looking at the man who controls your defense. And, with the team that's been struggling the way it has since the beginning of the year, we've spent a couple of weeks in first place, but that's only because there was no other team in the East that wanted to take it. Now that, the Philadelphias and the New Yorks are starting to wake up, we're down in 5th and, struggling very badly on defense. And now you take away our leader, our best player, as you said, former MLS Defender of the Year. That is a very big void when you go from him to Kyle Fisher.
Right. Yeah, the gap is large. I can understand that. So, yeah, I mean, it's a huge deal, but I also have to feel that, Didier Drogba sounds like he's going to play now. At least everything that I've seen so far now has said that the hip strain that he had and missed the last game is now going to, or at least has subsided enough to where he looks like he's going to be available to play against the LA Galaxy. So you have Drogba, you have Piatti, who, in my opinion, is one of the best goal scorers in Major League Soccer. I just love watching him play. I mean, there's still some offensive weapons here for Montreal.
Absolutely. Well, look, the first thing is that after Drogba, the depth chart when it comes to forwards drops off dramatically. Mm-hmm. And Drogba, who has been injured, he missed a game against Orlando, mind you. In Orlando, they play on turf, so he completely avoids turf games.
Right.
But, he's struggling to come back. So you're not going to have Drogba on the field for a full 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. You're going to probably see Oduro take on the right wing position. You have Piatti on the left, who's great. The only problem is, once Drogba starts to slow down,
right,
Piatti, as fantastic as he is, really starts to hog the ball a little bit too much. And it's one or two touches too many, and it's a missed pass here, and it starts creating a lot of frustration. The focal point of the offense is Drogba, and when he's not there, that's really when the team as a whole slows down.
Yeah, we saw in the game against Orlando a game where Montreal went up in the 4th minute on a goal from Ignacio Piatti. You saw that team struggle to hold that lead. I know you guys have said, at least you've told me, you think there's some issues with some refereeing and some things that have happened along the way. But is this a team that you see is strong for 90 minutes, or have lapses? Do they like to give up late goals? Do they like to give up early goals? What is it about Montreal that sort of gets that hiccup?
The hiccup is we can start strong when we're on fresh legs, but we work way too hard in the beginning, and then the concentration starts to lose out. The first 43 minutes against Orlando was probably the best 43 minutes I've seen the Montreal Impact play all season. Mm-hmm. But, Orlando was playing physical. They got into the Impacts, in their head. They destabilized them, and then they started getting tired. And then you saw Drogba get, the entire forward line get tired, and it completely knocks them off their game. This team does not have a full 90 minutes in them.
Yeah, and I think the LA Galaxy fans might say the same thing as well, that, the complete performance from the Galaxy, maybe against Houston, although that was a game that the Galaxy sort of, ran away from, maybe against New England, although New England made that game closer than it was supposed to be. So for LA, I seem to think I haven't seen really that 90-minute performance either. Do you expect Montreal to come out and try to play the LA Galaxy? Do you expect them to go at the LA Galaxy, or do you expect them to be tentative and sitting back to start this game?
I think to start the game, they're going to come right at them. I think that if the Montreal Impact feels like they're going to have a chance at stealing the 3-point, they need to get on the board as quickly as possible. And, when you have Drogba at the start of the game who's fully ready to go, he's going to be looking to give it his all to start, try to get 1 or 2 goals on you, because we know that as we get closer to halftime, as we get into the second half, and the team slows down and you don't have as many options on forward and your defense is inexperienced and is being shuffled a lot, you got to pack as much punch as you can at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, and that's usually what the home team should do to the team that is going to be traveling up there. You said that you think that they're going to steal some points here, and I think that the LA Galaxy, if they went up and won this game, would be stealing points, quite honestly. Just the long road trip I mentioned on your podcast, 5.5 hours of travel basically for the LA Galaxy, which is a long plane ride, even in the United States. That's, cross country as far as you can basically go. And then not having Robbie Keane and Giovanni Sardo, it would be interesting just to see, how it is. I think that a draw for the LA Galaxy is okay. Would you take a draw at this point? If I offered you the draw right now, could we both walk away? We wouldn't have to play this game.
If you offer me a draw, I'll buy you dinner and let you walk away with the point.
See, that's the crazy. I always think this is hysterical because now we'll go play the game. We'll play the game. Somebody will play better. Somebody will play worse. Somebody will think that maybe if they do draw that they deserve to win, and somebody will think that, oh, well, I'll take the draw because we probably deserve to lose that game. That's how it always works. But at the beginning of the game, a long road trip for the LA Galaxy, I'd take the draw right now. So I know, and I think that shocks you a little bit with what the LA Galaxy have in store in terms of firepower, but I don't feel like this team is 100% there yet. So it's a little more of a question. I have one or two more questions for you, and then we'll let you get out of here. Let's see. See, I was going to go, and then I completely lost my train of thought here. So give me 1 second.
Well, while you get it back, it's the one thing that, and I mentioned this on my podcast. It's what blows me away is that you guys have one loss on the season, and you're still saying, well, we haven't seen a full 90 minutes from the LA Galaxy yet. You guys are a plus 12. Every team wants to be you, and you guys are not. Personally, I love it. I love the attitude because that's the way championship teams think. Even if you only have one loss after 11 games, it's what can we do better? And, if other teams in the league want to get up to the status of the LA Galaxy, that's the mentality they need to get.
Yeah, it is different. Listen, I told you that I think that, the mentality of a championship team is understanding that what happens in May doesn't necessarily mean what's going to happen in October. You can't win a cup in May, but you can lose one, right? And so that's sort of the mentality that I think Bruce Arena passes down, and it's something that if you talk to the players, they also have that same mentality. So it gets passed all the way down from top to bottom. I think this is going to be a great game. What's the weather supposed to be like? That's always my good question. What's the weather supposed to be like?
Apparently right now they're calling for rain, but, here in Montreal, the weather changes almost every hour.
Very good.
There's no real way of predicting it, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some rain on game day.
Yeah, it would make things a lot more interesting. All right, if you want to follow Giovanni Sardo on Twitter, it's at GioSardoMTL. That's GIOSARDOMTL. Please follow him there. Look for the Black and Blue podcast as well. You can hear me on his podcast talking about Montreal if you want to get even more game prep for this particular game. The LA Galaxy will face off against Montreal Impact in Montreal. 5 p.m. Pacific time start. Should be great on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet, Time Warner Cable Deportes. Great stuff. Giovanni, I appreciate you stopping by, and please do it anytime, all right?
Oh, absolutely. Every matchup that we got going, we'll do this again. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds great. All right, we'll be talking to you soon. All right, that's Giovanni Sardo covering the Montreal Impact up on the Black and Blue podcast. Still got a bunch to get to. Still LA Galaxy news. Still, we're going to preview this game even more, really get you ready for this Montreal game. So, should be interesting. He's happy, or he thinks a draw will keep it good. I think a draw. I'd take a draw right now. I want to know what you guys think as well, so we'll be taking calls, doing all that fun stuff on the other side of the break. You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com, and we'll be right back.
Ready for some more Corner of the Galaxy? Don't forget to head over to the website for all the latest podcasts, news, and more. Visit us online at cornerofthegalaxy.com.
Hey, this is Chris.
This is Eddie.
This is Jason.
And we're from Back Pocket Memory, and you're listening to Corner of the Galaxy.
Welcome back to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Josh and Wendy back with you. Want to thank Giovanni Sardo for coming on. Great stuff. I always like it. Wendy and I were talking at the break, actually, about how... Well, Wendy, you say it. It was basically we were talking about like getting lost in the minutia.
Yes. I think it's very illuminating to listen to how fans of other teams feel when the LA Galaxy comes to play them, because his mindset, he was characterizing the Galaxy as a juggernaut and he would be happy with the draw. And I think it's because you don't know the minutia of what is going on within all the other teams in MLS.
Right.
So just as they know what's going on within their team, but they don't know what's going on with all the teams of MLS. And so there's maybe only a vague perception of when the Galaxy come to play, it's the Galaxy. They're the juggernaut. Even though you and I, when we sit down and break down our games, we say to each other, well, there's definitely a problem in terms of overlap with Keane and Giovanni, and definitely we have a problem with bringing creativity, and maybe there's some problems in the midfield. But that's because we're overanalyzing it, or we're paying such close attention to what's going on. And so it's interesting that our perception of what the LA Galaxy is differs so vastly from what other people's perception of the LA Galaxy is, because theirs is based on like a generic gestalt of, it's the juggernaut.
Word points for gestalt, first of all,
gestalt,
and then second. And then second, I don't even remember what I was saying because gestalt was such a good word the first time.
I think it's also interesting that Josh doesn't want me to say anything interesting when it's just he and I talking. Anytime I say something interesting, let's just get it on the air. You just want me to sit like a stump
yes.
and not say anything when we're just chatting.
No, what did I tell you whenever we were texting today getting ready for the show? I told you had to have a certain list ready, and you were like, and you started arguing the list. I'm like, I don't want to know. I go, we need to be able to disagree, and you might sway me. I might change my mind because I hear what you say, so I don't want to know any of that stuff. So a little behind-the-scenes stuff there. No, what I was going to say is, if you're another team like Montreal, I say, the LA Galaxy are missing Robbie Keane, and they're missing Giovanni Sardo, and then in their mind, they say, you have Steven Gerrard, Ashley Cole, Nigel de Jong, Yella Van Dam, right? They see all those names, Giovanni Dos Santos, and they're thinking, poor you. You're missing Robbie Keane and Giovanni Sardo.
We are so spoiled. We are really so spoiled.
Oh, yeah. Of course we are, which makes it all that much more fun whenever we do it. But no, I thought that was really interesting. A little rain possibly in the forecast. Montreal's going to miss 5 players as well. Again, we're going to get to Montreal in just a second, but I am going to go ahead and open up the phone line. So if you want to call in and you want to talk to us, you are more than welcome to do that. Please do that. As a matter of fact, it's 949-734-4217, and we can talk a little bit as we go through some LA Galaxy news. If you try and you don't get through, try again. There's no phone screener here. It's just me, and I have to hit the button. So we'll see if we can make that work. I do want to update you one on Zlatan Ibrahimovic. It seems like he is going to end up going to Manchester United. That's at least the rumors. Jose Mourinho rumored to have taken the Manchester United job, as I think it's going to be announced on Friday, and of course we're recording on a Thursday night. So that's going to happen. I think that in the press conference, if you watch it from Zlatan, you can sort of see where he's going with that and what he's saying if you're reading between the lines. Although there is a possibility that China has offered him $78 million to play there for 2 years. So that would make me at least think a little bit about where I was going if somebody offered me $78 million for 2 years. So anyway.
It's really funny. Okay, so in Zlatan's autobiography, he talks a lot about his agent. His agent is this very famous agent named Mino Raiola. And he's an Italian, and he's got a lot of clients. He's got Lukaku and Balotelli. But it's interesting, the way he characterizes him, it's almost like this guy could have been a nightclub owner in a different life.
I like that.
And he definitely, one of the things he talks about is how the strategies that he'll employ, including things like leveraging clubs against one another. And this is what drives me crazy when I see rumors. It drives me crazy because I'm always like, please take into account the source. And in this case, I think Zlatan would probably love to come to LA, but he would also love to play for Mourinho. And I don't know about playing in China. But I mean,
but for
I guarantee you that Mino Raiola is doing what he can to get the best deal for his client, and that includes playing potentially Manchester United against the LA Galaxy, against, Zhuangzhou Evergrande.
Yeah, and quite honestly, if you're the LA Galaxy and you're going up against Manchester United, you should lose that particular bid 9 times out of 10, maybe more than that, maybe 99 times out of 100. You should do that. quite honestly. It's just the way it is right now.
You should. I would rather play for the LA Galaxy than Manchester United, but I don't think that my judgment necessarily should be substituted for
it's like there are what? There's maybe one or two clubs in the world that might come out on the other end of that whenever you think about it. So, I mean, it's not a big deal.
Manchester United has more money than God.
That's what I've heard. All right. Let's see. Let's go on now to the let's see if we can go on now to the LA Galaxy 2 game. I just want to go quickly over this because it's something that I think if you guys are interested in this weekend, if you want to go to the viewing party, you want to have a good time on Saturday, you can watch both the Montreal game, Wendy, at the field at StubHub Center at the Track and Field Stadium, and then right afterwards at 7:30 p.m., Arizona United is going to come in and take on LA Galaxy 2. So you can do that, and they're having a watch party, and you can watch it there, so you can be around a whole bunch of Galaxy fans. Quite honestly, I don't know how much better you could start this sort of Memorial Day weekend on a Saturday night with all your friends there having a great time.
Yeah, it's like a doubleheader.
Yeah, it's a great doubleheader. It works great for me. So anyway. It's just one of the things that you should keep an eye on and possibly do, and hopefully that works out for you if you go there. And LA Galaxy 2 is always fun to watch as well. All right, so there's that. All right, now we get to the LA Galaxy and the MLS All-Star game. All right, the MLS All-Star game. Nobody really cares about the All-Star game. Nobody cares about who the players are selected. So I'm putting this...
Don Garber cares.
Don Garber... Oh, he really cares. Yeah, he really cares. If you're upset about the players who were picked for the MLS All-Star game from the LA Galaxy, I question what you're doing with your life because there's no reason to be upset about any of this. I'm going to go over the 8 players that were selected by the press. I do have to say that I am a member of the press and I did have an All-Star ballot. However, having said that, I forgot about it, and so I didn't do it. So it's one of those things that unfortunately it happens sometimes, and I don't know that my vote would have changed much altogether. So the press was allowed to nominate 8 players overall, 8 players total: Brian Rowe, Yella Van Dam, Giovanni Dos Santos, Robbie Keane, Josh Zardes, Mike Magee, Ashley Cole, and Steven Gerrard. Wendy, I asked you to come up with your best 8 LA Galaxy players, fully understanding that the 8 players that the media picked may be totally swayed by what people see from the outside and not necessarily from the inside. So I want to know what your best 8 players are.
My best 8 from 8 to 1 was Nigel de Jong. Mm-hmm. I know he was injured.
And
so it's very hard to calculate these things when you have to take into account injuries, suspensions, and whatnot. He was injured, so that's why he's down lower.
Okay.
Josh Zardes, Brian Rowe, Robbie Keane, Steven Gerrard, Ashley Cole, Yella Van Dam, and Giovanni Dos Santos at number 1.
Okay. I don't see... my only questions in this, and I wondered if I would have put it... If I actually... Because I did my 8, and realistically, I have Sebastian Lletget in there probably over Mike Magee. That's probably my only change overall.
But what about Nigel de Jong? What about
He missed 4 games.
Okay, right now, name me 3 defensive midfielders who are technically better than Nigel de Jong right now in MLS.
There aren't, but he missed 4 games out of 11, and it's hard to put somebody in there whenever that happens. All right.
How about this? Name me 1 defensive midfielder in MLS who's technically better than Nigel de Jong.
There isn't. It's Nigel de Jong. It's absolutely
okay.
Nigel. I'm not going to argue.
This is nonsense. This is nonsense. Okay, first of all, the MLS All-Star Game, because DPs are predominantly strikers in this league, strikers and attacking midfielders,
yes,
there's always a plethora of opportunities for strikers. I mean, you have David Villa, and you have Kaká, and you have all these great goal scorers. You're going to have Javinko in there. One thing you usually have a shortage of at the MLS All-Star Game is defenders and defensive midfielders.
That's what
and yet somehow in this magical list of soccer professionals who ostensibly have some idea of what they're talking about, Nigel de Jong is not nominated and Josh Zardes is. Yeah. I don't understand this at all.
Here's the crazy thing, right? Imagine me. Okay, so we know my limited knowledge on other teams, right? We understand that Josh focuses basically all of his effort and all of his time on the LA Galaxy, and that's more than enough to keep him busy. All right? Would you imagine me trying to pick the top 8 players on the Philadelphia Union? Like why? First of all, I wasn't going to do that because that's ridiculous for me to even pretend to do, right? I was only going to pick the LA Galaxy players because it's really the only base knowledge that I have. So I wouldn't have gone outside of that. But you're getting guys who are national guys who see, hey, Josh Zardes plays on the national team, check mark. Despite the fact that he has the world's worst first touch on most occasions.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, Mike Magee, actually, I looked it up. He has been really productive for us. I mean, he's not necessarily a starter, but he's gotten 4 goals and 4 assists this season, which is really productive for the LA Galaxy. So when you look at, if you were just a soccer journalist who didn't follow the LA Galaxy at all, and you were just looking at the list of stats available, you would say, wow, Mike Magee, 4 goals, 4 assists. I got you, buddy.
Yep.
He's a former MLS MVP. But I mean, realistically, he's also not even a starter for the Galaxy.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right with Nigel de Jong as far as if you're looking at who is better than Nigel de Jong in that position in Major League Soccer. I don't know that there is anybody, so he probably gets it. Listen, this is the All-Star game. Here is my advice that I give during every All-Star game. First of all, I want you to know that you, the fan, can vote starting May 26th, which is basically today as we record. Through July 4th, fans will select the fan starting 11 All-Stars. Fans can vote at MLSsoccer.com beginning on May 26th via the AT&T/EA Sports More Than a Vote Challenge. Fans will score as many goals as possible with their favorite MLS All-Star forward candidates in FIFA 16 with 1 goal equaling 1 vote. The forward with the most votes will occupy one of the forward spots on that. So there you go. That's that one. You also, I believe you can also do a fan ballot as well. So here is what I tell everybody whenever you're doing this. If I was you and you're going to go on EA and score goals with somebody, I would pick out Chris Wondolowski, and I would make sure he scores about 1 million goals to make sure that he's going to be playing because you want him to play. Just find everybody's really good striker, score as many goals with him. You know what? Find their best players and score as many goals as you possibly can with them, and make sure they have to go to this All-Star game because it's a drain, and I need the old bones of the LA Galaxy, those guys who are over 35 years old, to not be playing in this game. Okay? And not only that, but if you don't play in this game and you're selected, Don Garber's going to make sure you miss the next game to make sure that you're punished for not playing in this game because this game technically means something. It means something to the sponsors. We know that, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know why this is like throwing a party when no one wants to go. It's literally like Don Garber is throwing a party at his townhouse and he's invited all the DPs of MLS and none of them want to go.
Right. No, it is. The reason that he needs them to go, though, is that it used to be MLS Cup the venue was chosen way in advance, right? So basically it was like the Super Bowls. Way in advance, you get all the sponsors, you can plan this really big party. It was really cool when that happened because there were, everything was set up months and months in advance. So there was lots of stuff to plan for. Well, now with MLS Cup going to, the best team out of the last 2 teams, and they get to host it, now there's no chance to really set all this stuff up, and it has been scaled down. Having gone from 2011 MLS Cup to 2012 MLS Cup, which is when that switchover changed, and they were both in LA. What do you know? So 2011, 2012, you saw that downgrade in what happens. Now 2014 was starting to ramp up again, and you could see it. But nonetheless, it changes. So they need this game because this is like their Super Bowl now. They need the All-Star game because this is where they can get all the sponsors. They can plan everything. They can make things happen well in advance and plan it around a single event. So that's why this time they put it in the world's smallest stadium in San Jose.
I know. It's an Avaya Stadium, which is
gorgeous.
It's a beautiful stadium. It really is pretty. It's really, really pretty, but it is 18,000.
Yeah, it is not good. All right, we got about
I hope no one from the Galaxy gets selected, by the way. I hope no one does.
They will, but nonetheless, my voting strategy works. Vote for everybody else's, all right? That's how it works. All right, let's see. LA Galaxy schedule now. The LA Galaxy obviously take on Montreal on Saturday at 5 p.m. We're going to talk about that here in just a couple minutes. Then I go through the whole month of June. June is home to Sporting Kansas City, away to Toronto, home to Colorado, away to San Jose Earthquakes. June 25th is the end of the Cali Classico, 3 games that are played away to San Jose on June 25th. There's only 4 games in June. There are 5 games in July. July 4th starting at home versus Vancouver, away July 9th to Seattle. Friday, July 15th, home to the Dynamo, away to Portland, and again, away to Seattle. Seattle twice in July, once at the beginning of the month, once at the end of the month. Tough month for the LA Galaxy. Vancouver, Seattle, Houston, Portland, Seattle. All right, that's what you get in July, so keep your eyes on that. I don't think we need to do standings. Everybody sort of knows where the LA Galaxy are. 5th right now in the Western Conference, if you wanted to know, and 5th overall because all the Western Conference teams are 1 through 5 in the Supporters' Shield. So 5th in the Supporters' Shield as well. 20 points, 11 games played for the LA Galaxy. Can we talk about injuries real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, none. Next. I like
but
that
we do
one.
have international absences.
We do. Giovanni Sardo, Robbie Keane, and Baggio Husidic all missing. Well, it looks like Zardes and Keane could be gone as much as a month, so be prepared for that.
That is extremely optimistic of you, Josh.
I know.
Extremely.
I thought it was nice of me. Baggio Husidic will probably be gone for about 2 games, so he'll miss this game and the next game, that Thursday night game that is coming up next week. So that's another thing that you just want to sort of watch. Just sort of pay attention. If you're an LA Galaxy fan and only an LA Galaxy fan, then you hope that the United States men's national team and the Irish national team get eliminated very quickly, and these guys can come back very, very soon. And since we have no national affiliation here on Corner of the Galaxy, that's what we're hoping for. All right.
Yes.
Thursday, June 2nd is the sporting.
I think we will get our hopes granted.
I think there's a very good chance of it. All right, let's get into this Montreal game before we close out the show. Phone lines are not working, by the way, just in case you wanted to know. Skype is having some issues again, so if you're trying to call, I apologize. That is my intent to get you on, but it didn't happen. So we'll survive and we'll move on to another day. Preview versus Montreal in the LA Galaxy, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Time Warner Cable Sportsnet, Time Warner Cable Deportes. The last game for Montreal was a 2-1 loss to Orlando in Orlando, where if you listen to any of the podcasts, I don't even know which podcast I said it on. It was either on Giovanni's podcast I was on or either on this one. It was the fact that that Montreal actually scored first in this game in the 4th minute and ended up losing 2-1. So very interesting. Montreal 4-4-4, Wendy, 16 points, 12 games played, 5th in the East. They're currently on a 6-game winless streak. The LA Galaxy 5-1-5, 20 points, 11 games played. 5th in the West. LA Galaxy currently on a 9-game unbeaten streak. Remember whenever you get a whole bunch of ties in there, though? All it takes is one loss, and your 9-game unbeaten streak becomes a 4-game winless streak. So
yeah,
so
it's all that's called framing.
Yeah, that's right.
The heuristic is called framing.
That's absolutely correct. And pump the brakes on getting too excited about it until you see them put up a couple more wins, because the LA Galaxy in their last 6 games, 3 wins, 3 draws. Listen, there are bunches of really good players from Montreal. They're just not going to be playing in this game. Piatti's going to be there. Drogba's going to be there. We talked about that. I think you heard Giovanni and Wendy talk about a whole bunch of the other players who are going to come on. Simon is not going to be in there, which is a huge break for the LA Galaxy. You heard...
Because he is legitimately one of the best defenders in MLS.
So good. And so... having these guys miss. I was going into this before I talked to Giovanni. I was thinking the LA Galaxy, really didn't have a chance in this game as far as getting a win. I thought a draw was attainable, but traveling that far, it does something to the Galaxy, and they're not that great on the road, so it's one of those things that I wasn't expecting a lot. I know.
I almost feel like a little we have bad road voodoo or something. We're carrying bad juju or something, because on the road we really do struggle. And I'm really concerned about, I'm very trepidatious about the odds of Gilles Van Damme getting out of a game without a yellow card when he's going up against Didier Drogba.
Last game.
What are the odds that Gilles Van Damme does not get a yellow card?
What are the odds that Gilles Van Damme ever got through 5 games without getting a yellow card? He's basically already beaten the odds. It was 1,000,000 to 1. All right, this is
Is he really close? He's really close, isn't he?
This is it. His last game. If he makes it through this, he will have 1 yellow card removed. So he'll go from 4 to 3. But that means there's no more good behavior for him. So whenever he gets his next one, which will then be 4 again, his next one he'll get suspended regardless of when it happens. So just keep that in mind. It's good, though, because they get him 2 away. But honestly, this is what I see him doing. I see him actually making it through this game somehow, not picking up a yellow card, getting 3, and then getting 2 in the next 2 games. And that's how it would work, and that's how I see it. Interesting note, the LA Galaxy have never lost to the Montreal Impact.
We've only played 4 times.
Only played 4 times, but the LA Galaxy have only won once, and that was at home in 2013. Otherwise, it's been draw, 0-0, 2-2, 1-1. All right, regardless of where it is. But they've also never lost in Montreal, so that's a good sign too, right? Let's just frame everything that way. That works good for me.
This is actually, you could have been a really good lawyer, because this is very important as a lawyer to be able to use semantics in order to make your argument seem as positive as possible.
I'm the most semantical person you've ever met. Then
semantical.
Yeah, I made up that word and I'm going to use it. That's my new nickname, semantical. All right, that is awesome. But yeah, listen, this game is going to be difficult. If it rains, I think the Galaxy will struggle. I think they like to play on the ground, and whenever it rains, that usually hurts them. So if it is actually going to rain, then that's a possibility, all right? So we'll keep an eye on the weather. Ignacio Piatti is so dangerous. So amazing. Really excited to see him play, quite honestly. So that'll be fun. Didier Drogba, probably not going to play all 90 minutes. Does he start? Does he go 60 minutes? Does he get brought in the second half? All those very good questions. The LA Galaxy, Wendy, I think we agree, are going back to a 4-4-2, which probably means that you could see Boateng and Lletget in, or at least Magee in and Boateng coming off the bench. But I think Lletget gets a start now whenever you're missing two starters. Lletget is definitely in there as one of those guys.
And I anticipate that Montreal will play a 4-2-3-1.
Very well could, and Drogba's going to be up at that top, and you heard Giovanni say that whenever Drogba gets tired, Piatti tries to do too much. Maybe the LA Galaxy midfield, which I think will be able to key in on this Montreal midfield. I think there's going to be some success here for the LA Galaxy. I think they can score goals. I think the fact that Montreal's missing so many players is a blessing in disguise. If the LA Galaxy can go up there and get 3 points on the road, it sort of makes up for the fact they didn't get 3 points against San Jose, and it did hurt their points per game in the overall standings. The LA Galaxy not nearly as strong as they were if they would have beaten San Jose. So all that being said, Wendy, is there anything else about this game that sticks out to you that we have to know?
No, I mean, I think the one thing that you guys talked about on the phone is I do think the loss of Simon is maybe even bigger than if Drogba was injured. He's really critical. I think Drogba is their most impactful player, but he's close. He's very close. And being called up to Belgium was a big deal for him. The Belgium national team had some injuries, but I think that getting through the defensive line without him there is so much easier.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that the fact that, as we're being told, it's going to be a rookie back there, I think it's something for the LA Galaxy to look at. But if you remember, the last time the LA Galaxy played Montreal in LA, it was Didier Drogba who was held completely scoreless by one Dave Romney and one Omar Gonzalez. So not completely unprecedented.
That was Omar's best game last year.
That was Omar's best game. It was also Dave Romney's very good game as well. So those two had a good pairing in the center. So it's going to be probably Daniel Steres this time and Jelle Van Dam who get to take care of Didier Drogba. Should be a lot of fun. Again, the game is at 5 p.m. Pacific time on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet, Time Warner Cable Deportes. Go to the LA Galaxy 2 game. You can watch it there. You can have a good time. I'm sure there's tacos and beer. There's always tacos and beer at the LA Galaxy 2 games. There's no reason for you not to be there. LAGalaxy.com/2, which takes you to the LA Galaxy 2 page. Will give you all of the information that you need. Go to LA Galaxy at LA Galaxy on Twitter, and also a lot of that information is there. Wendy, anything else we could possibly talk about before we get out of here?
Well, I'm going to give you my prediction.
Okay,
and
go ahead.
I am going to be radical and suggest that we actually get a road win. I'm saying 2-1.
2-1. Ring the bell. Ding, ding, ding. All right, so that's good. I will say the LA Galaxy draw 2-2.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. I feel like I'm being cautious with that. I feel like I've reined back my enthusiasm just a little bit. I could see them honestly scoring 7 goals on Montreal, however, with Giovanni Dos Santos in there. By the way, did you know that the Red Bulls goal differential, I was sure that the Red Bulls would jump the LA Galaxy in goal differential whenever that happened. They got 7 goals. If you get a +7 in one game, you should drastically jump up the board. They now have a +1 goal differential. So they would.
It is terrible optics for MLS that the highest watched game of last weekend was the New York Red Bulls New York City FC game, because that was a you-know-what show.
It was, but I'll tell you with one thing that I understand about rivalries right now, and people can argue with me. Come at me, bro. I don't care. You can argue with me. Right now, people will watch marquee players playing in marquee games, and that's with quotation marks around all the marquee stuff. All right? That's what they want to see. Big names playing in big teams. So you had New York City and all the big names that happened around that. That's why you got the draw. It had nothing to do with the form, because if you saw the form, New York City shouldn't have lost by 7 goals, but they should have. New York Red Bulls probably are still the better team out of those two. So regardless of how that happens, although the standings didn't prove that at the particular time, it's fine. It's going to get itself sorted out. And the more New York City can play away from that postage stamp at Yankee Stadium, probably the better for them. So away games are their friends. Let's see how that works. All right, Wendy, why don't you tell people where they can find you? We'll get on out of here.
You can find me at Corner of the Galaxy and at American Soccer Now, and my Twitter handle is BardsBlonde.
All right, and if you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at JGuesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. That's me 90% of the time. We have some fun stuff coming up with some advertisers. The Terrace Club, coming up very soon. We have our very own code for the Terrace Club. If you go to the Terrace Club and you type in the code COG, you can get us some well-deserved props from the Terrace Club and the great stuff they're doing with that subscription box. The Bumpy Pitch guys are amazing. Ben and Brian Dunseth, all amazing guys, and they put out some great products. So look for that. Go to theterraceclub.com, type in COG if you're going to order. It's a subscriptions box for soccer. It's amazing. You got to do it. All right. Let's see. I think that does it. The LA Galaxy again face against Montreal Impact, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Should be a great game. Hope to see you out at the LA Galaxy 2 game. For Wendy Thomas, I'm Josh Guesman, and you've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com, and we will catch you next week.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. And for all of your independent LA Galaxy news, discussion, and entertainment, including this podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Fans, thanks for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.